This is from Mondelez. The Harris campaign hits Michigan amid anger over Gaza policy, and is Trump talking to Netanyahu?
Is Trump talking to Netanyahu? Like, Trump loves fascist dictators. Like, are you serious? The worse they are, the more he loves them. But, the only thing is that it's the same thing with Harris. You actually witness with Trump because he just doesn't hide it. Vice President Kamala Harris is headed to Michigan today. The Democratic nominee is scheduled to make several appearances in the state this week. Her visit comes amid a widening war in the Middle East and growing frustration among Arab American voters over the United States government's refusal to reel in Israel is not real. If not now, spokesperson Eva Borgwat. The infuriating thing is that Kamala Harris could say now on this trip to Michigan that she supports an arm embargo. But we have seen absolutely no sign that they plan to reverse course. You can't reverse a genocide. My question is for Kamala Harris and the Biden-Harris administration. Do they want to win or not? Is Donald Trump dangerous enough or not dangerous enough for them to stop funding Israel as it bombs hospitals and starves northern Gaza? The American electorate is furious as they continue to learn there's no red lines for this administration. Multiple polls show GOP nominee Donald Trump with a slight advantage in the state. Two Detroit-based Arab American groups, Arab America PAC and the Arab American News, recently decided to endorse neither candidate in the race. Engage Action endorsed Harris but expressed strong disappointment with the Biden administration Gaza policy. We're in a moment where our community is suffering and hurting in more ways than we can count. We've also seen 4 years under a Trump presidency and what that did to our community and the risks that come with that, a spokesperson at Arab Americas for Harris Waltz told The Guardian. We're not saying that with a Harris administration there is no risk, but under a Trump administration the risk is much higher. We believe it is a more favorable path forward for us here in the United States and in our home countries. Senior Harris campaign official told CNN, "We're kind of doing our best to hold the ground or limit losses. We may not get all the votes you would have expected from previous cycles, but they're going to be made up for when you're thinking about a path to victory." More from The Guardian. Ultimately, the election in Michigan may be decided by events half a world away. More than 100,000 people voted uncommitted in the state's Democratic primaries in February in a protest against Biden-Harris support for Israel's war in Gaza. As the Palestinian civilian death toll climbed into the tens of thousands, but the uncommitted movement is now alarmed at the prospect of those supporters boycotting Harris if it delivers Michigan to Trump. On Tuesday, the group's co-founder Lexi Zidane pleaded in a video on social media to not let that happen. As a Palestinian American, the current administration's handling of this genocide has been beyond enraging and demoralizing, but the reality is that it can get worse. Nobody wants a Trump presidency more than Netanyahu because that is his ticket to wiping Palestine off the map, she said. Lexi's warning fell well short of an endorsement of Harris, but across Michigan. The vice president's campaign is counting on fear of Trump as much as enthusiasm for the vice president to get her over the line. Last week, Rolling Stone ran an interview with Arab American Institute president James Zogby. Here's his response to a question about Michigan. The Lebanese in Dearborn are mostly Shia from South Lebanon because when Israel invaded in 1978 and then in 1982, intensified and expanded the area that they were occupying, 2 villages in South Lebanon emptied out to Dearborn. Today, the majority population in Dearborn is Arab American. The mayor is Arab. The police chief is Arab. The state representative is Arab. The congresswoman is Rashida Tlaib. Many of the constituents are Lebanese who have deep attachments to Palestinians. In this election, I think the expansion of Israel's war into Lebanon will either put an exclamation point on the outrage or depression, causing them either not to vote or to flip and vote elsewhere. Vote Jill Stein. And here's his response to a question about whether the Arab voter shift to Trump is reversible. The Trump vote, going to 42%, was an increase of 7%, but that 7% was soft. We asked the voters if Harris was to demand a ceasefire or if she were to say she would suspend arms aid unless Israel agreed to a ceasefire. Her numbers went up from 42 to 62%. That's 20% that you're missing out on because you're a fucking shitty person. Good job. She regained a significant number of Trump voters, of Trump votes that were the people basically voting for him as a protest against Democrats. The reaction I'm getting when I go around the country and talk to people is they want to punish Democrats. That's a smart political move. That's not a smart political move, but that's what people are feeling. And I don't have an argument to make because they haven't given us arguments to make. It's unclear if anyone in the mainstream media cares about this story, but Trump continues to tell people that he's talking to Netanyahu, the imposter. Last week, the former president told Fox News that he spoke with the Israeli prime minister like 2 days ago. I can tell you that Bibi has been very strong, Trump said. He's not listening to Biden. Oh, you must love that. Must make you want to shit your pants. You might recall that PBS correspondent Judy Woodruff issued a public apology in August after citing a story from Axios and Reuters about Trump pressuring Netanyahu to reject ceasefire talks. Trump and Netanyahu denied the call took place. This prompted Woodruff to release the following statement. I want to clarify my remarks on the PBS News special on Monday night about the ongoing ceasefire talks in the Middle East. As I said, this was not based on my original reporting. I was referring to reports I had read in Axios and Reuters about former President Trump having spoken to Israeli Prime Minister. In the live TV moment, I repeated the story because I hadn't seen later reporting that both sides denied it. This was a mistake and I apologize for it. The story quickly faded away, framed as a right-wing press as another example of anti-Trump bias in the media. However, if Netanyahu really told Trump that he wasn't listening to Biden days ago, then it feels like the press should revisit the topic, as such chats would quite obviously violate the Logan Act. One wonders what the reaction would be if Trump were talking to the head of a state that isn't a close U.S. ally, while the leader was carrying out a genocidal assault and widening his war into neighboring countries.